Hi, I'm Karen Stever with the Griffin GGS Pro Technical Specialist Group. And today in this short webinar, I'd like to talk to you about liverwort in your ornamental crops and production area. Liverwort is shown here. It's a prehistoric plant, a simple plant with no stems, roots, or true leaves. This plant really thrives in wet and fertile soil and has optimal growth at about greenhouse temperatures. If we look at this plant, we see a couple of unusual structures on it, interesting looking cups there, and then what I think of as these little heuchera leaves. Those cups are actually called a gemma cup. Gemmae are the basically clones. Before it even enters reproduction, it reproduces by these gemma. The gemma are washed out of the cups by water splash and go on to form a new plant, or if they happen to split, to form two new plants. And both of those plants will be a precise clone of the parent plant. So there's hundreds of these cups on a large plant, and each with hundreds of gemma in it. So that's a whole lot of production before our plant even becomes sexually reproductive. That happens, sexual reproduction, to form spores when the liverwort is mature enough and the conditions are right. With liverwort, each plant is either a female or a male, and both the females and the males produce the gemmae. The males are shown here at the bottom. That's our heuchera-looking leaves on the liverwort. Those are the male structures. The female structures are these little palm trees shown here. When water hits the male structures, they release sperm that interacts with the female, and spores are produced. Those spores can be spread by wind over long distances. So that is one way that you could get liverwort into your facility without bringing it in on the plants. It can come in on the wind. To control liverwort really means to control your cultural practices a bit as well. It's important to check all incoming plants, especially older plugs, woodies, or perennials that have been in production longer, and make sure that they are not harboring any liverwort when you bring them in. If you see any liverwort anywhere in your facility, remove it as quickly as possible, bag it, and dispose of it. In between crops, clean and sterilize your growing area. The strong cleaners like Strip It Pro or Green Clean Acid Cleaner will prevent the carryover of a myriad of problems from season to season. And then once you're into the crop, it's really important to avoid overwatering that crop. The ground under the crop should drain and get dry, and the crop itself, the top of that soil, needs to get dry to be less conducive to growing liverwort. Also, the fertility in pots makes a huge difference. Avoid top dressing controlled release fertilizers when you're using them. Mixing them into the soil or dibbling them down below the soil surface is much less conducive to growing liverwort than to top dressing a controlled release fertilizer. Remember, these plants don't have any roots. They're getting their nutrition and the moisture right there at the top of the soil. And for that reason, mulch can be really effective. It's been shown that an inch of rice hulls is very effective in preventing the growth of liverwort. Aside from our cultural controls, we can get some help from chemical controls. All of the products listed here have phytotoxic effects on at least some of the species tested. Some of them have phytotoxic effects on lots of species and really should only be used over the plants for liverwort when your desirable plant is dormant. In addition, all of these controls led to rapid regrowth. They did knock down the liverwort to a certain extent, but they all resulted in rapid regrowth with the exception of the baking soda, which provided more than 8 weeks of control of liverwort. So out of these products, baking soda turned out to be the most effective. We also have some pre-emergent herbicides that are good for liverwort control. There are 3 listed here that can be used in some container crops, at least some container crops, but they can be used in the facilities. SureGuard is our #1 product in this pre-emergent category. It has actually post and pre-emergent activity. That's leading to it being the #1 control for liverwort in container crops where it can be used, where it's safe to use it. It also can be used on any production location, including inside of a closed greenhouse, as long as the greenhouse is empty when it's applied, and then 24 hours later, the plants can be brought back in. Tower for Fuerte have labels to use in some container crops, but not in a greenhouse or in any interior situation. So those would be strictly for your exterior crops or exterior grounds. And then not exactly a pre-emergent, but Clean Grow will work as a pre-emergent in this case. If your containers are clean, spraying it once per week or once every 2 weeks will prevent liverwort from getting established. That as a preventative is probably our least phytotoxic product across the board of any that we used. It won't knock down established liverwort, but as far as prevention, it can be a good control if you're willing to put in repetitive sprays. Thanks for your time. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to send me an email at the address shown or give me a phone call at the Griffin main number, and then extension 89129 will get me or a GGS Pro teammate. Give us a call about any of your growing needs. We'd be happy to talk to you. Thanks and have a good day.